So I like Elvis, but so with Elvis, I know enough about him. I'm not like obsessive like I am with the Beatles in terms of knowing loads of the details
And that's
and stuff
like me
like
with the Beatles. I know the
that.
hits.
Okay.
I know enough to get by.
So I know with Elvis, it's it's just like that. The breakthrough in the 50s,
Mega star, wasn't
mega stardom. I mean, the film follows this structure really of him in the mega stardom, then him him being drafted in the army, him coming back and spending most of the rest of the 60s basically doing progressively
Rob, is it
knockout cheap movies.
Is it Bohemian Rhapsody or is it Rocketman?
In terms of
So
what quality or the way it's presented,
so is it like realistic or is it like
it's I would say it's between the two.
Oh, okay.
It is I would say it's between the two. It's not flights of fancy, so people aren't. It's not like Rocketman where people are
song.
No, so they're not doing that. So all the songs are in the context of doing shows. So in that sense, and showing the whole life, not birth to death, but bits of some childhood flashbacks from stardom to the beginning of stardom to death. So it covers his whole career basically. In that sense, it's more like Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's Baz Luhrmann, so it's directed with more flair and flash and crazy zooms and mad edits and frenzied editing.
Because you love Moulin Rouge, don't you?
Like Moulin Rouge. I'm a massive fan of 68 Comeback Special. There's a lot of time talking about that and how he obviously wanted to get away from the movies and just do something back to his roots again. And then there's all the stuff about the Vegas years. It's Colonel Tom Parker, played by Tom Hanks, is the storyteller in it. So everything's shown from his point of view. So one of the things you could say, you don't feel as if the camera's following Elvis and really getting to know Elvis. There's always that slight distance of someone telling you about Elvis. So you're judging him from a step away, really.
Is the actor believable as Elvis? Like, did it take 10 minutes and then you're into it,
definitely. Oh gosh, yes. Brilliant. He's got that looks with, like with Elvis, is like a good looking guy, but he's got something slightly over pretty. Maybe is it the lips or something? I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
There's almost something like a slick, sickly prettiness about him. He's not like a rugged Clint Eastwood looking guy, is he? Or a Hugh Jackman looking guy. There's something about him. It's almost like slightly pretty boy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the hair, and he used to, and the actor's got that. Completely believable in his charisma that these people would scream and want to watch him completely. He does an amazing job, and he's playing him in the 50s with a breakthrough. His early success and doing all the hips and the pelvis and stuff, that sort of stuff. But then when he's showing him, 68 Comeback Special, some of that stuff, and that's a show of his I know quite well. So to see it recreated,
I don't at all actually. So.
Was really good, and even some of the Elvis stuff. It reminded me a bit like, and I know it's not a popular film, but I really like the Doors, the band.
Yeah.
I was really into the Doors, and when I went to see the Doors film, and like Val Kilmer was so good as Jim Morrison, and I felt it was like a really good love letter to the band.
Yeah.
And this feels like a really good love letter to Elvis and a celebration of how good he is. And it doesn't seem as perfect. It's an interesting sort of. There's commentary there about stardom, and he wanted this stardom, but look what he's lost to be a star.
If you're mega fan of Elvis, so my stepdad is a mega Elvis fan. Would he like
my
it?
mom is.
Right.
My mom's a mega fan. She is nuts. She's got loads of merch on Elvis. Watches his films, all the albums. She's full fan. She's seen so many of. She knows all she knows the country's best Elvis impersonators because she's seen them. She's got an opinion on who are the best impersonators. Okay. So she went to the Elvis convention in Blackpool.
Fab.
She's a mega fan. So she saw this and she said she was a bit like, but am I going to like it by being a mega fan? It's always dodgy, isn't it? If you're a mega fan of something. And she thought it was amazing, and she thought it really did him justice his story, and he got the spirit. Even though like all these things, you have to tweak things a little bit and rearrange things sometimes. But he got the spirit of. It's not pleasant about about the depiction of Colonel Tom Parker, because it's just basically a manager that's got his golden goose and is just doing anything to keep his golden goose laying eggs. So it's not sympathetic.
I don't know anything about Colonel Tom Parker at all, so. Now, interestingly, does Elvis recognise him? Because obviously, when Elvis is starting out, he met Tom Hanks when he was that kid. It's Forrest Gump. So. Tom Hanks is always great. Is he great?
He's very good in this.
Yeah.
It's a little bit caricature because he's under a lot of prosthetics in it. So I did feel a little bit like you were aware it's Tom Hanks doing a bit of a silly voice.
He looks like the bloody Colonel KFC Colonel.
Well, it's just so that is a little bit jarring, but also Baz Luhrmann's style isn't like realism. So it's always puts you at slight theatrical,
at odds,
heightened fantasy almost. But I just accepted him as Elvis. I thought he was great. In the way, you do that a bit with. You do it a little bit with Bohemian Rhapsody, don't you, and Rocketman? You can't. By the end of the film, you're kind of used to him, and then when they start showing footage of the real person, because this does the same thing. When both of those films, when they start showing footage of the real person at the end, you sort of like go, oh yeah, I forgot they actually look like that instead.
Absolutely,
you just get absorbed in it, and this does that for me.
When Bohemian came out, I remember watching a side-by-side thing of Live Aid, wasn't it? And it's pretty
amazing,
good.
Isn't it?
And like you say, they actually look not that much like the person they impersonated, but in the context of the film, they do it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think this was really good and probably as good as those two films for me. I mean, I'm not, like I say, I'm a mega fan of Elvis, but I do know what sounds like, more of a fan and know a bit more of his stuff than sort of you do. So for me, I really enjoyed it, and it felt it sort of did justice to my knowledge of those events and what I'm aware of and stuff like that.
I can't imagine myself going to the cinema if it's still on at the cinema now, but I'll definitely watch it when it's on streaming for sure.
I'd recommend it. I think it's really good musical, and he does stylise the music a bit. You remember, the Great Gatsby that Baz Luhrmann did, and he kind of had period music. He had period music, but didn't he get someone like Dr. Dre or somebody just to? Not Dr. Dre. What's Beyonce's husband?
Oh, Jay-Z, as I like to call him.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z.
Well, I think he produced the music, and then he kind of made it a little bit modern, didn't he?
Yeah.
And had Lana Del Rey singing songs, and even though it wasn't perfectly historically accurate, he does that a little bit. So there's almost like samples of Elvis's songs that are like slightly remixed and changed slightly, so the music feels fresh. It doesn't feel like it feels vibrant.
Our internet's a little bit sketchy today. Rob, how many 1970s white sequin jumpsuits will he give it out of 10?
I think I'll give a fairly solid 8 jumpsuits out of 10. I'll probably say. Brilliant. How many? Maybe on a, I don't know whether that would go up or down. How many cheeseburgers out of 10 would I give it? I'll give it 8 cheeseburgers on the toilet out of 10.
Brilliant.